I'd like to just introduce a few other folks from Dell that are with me here today. Suzanne, if you'd like, please stand up and introduce yourself really quick.
I'm Sandra, and so I'm the Dell account executive. So basically, I handle everything Dell for Case Westerns, and then I bring in specialists. And like I said, there's a few of us here today, and there's lots more depending on the technology.
Ian?
I'm Ian Semania. I'm a networking sales specialist, so I'm one of the folks that Brian and Suzanne might bring in to help out for a particular project. So happy to be here.
Jim?
I'm Jim Lippy. I am the storage specialist. Do much the same thing that Ian does, different technology.
All right, perfect. Besides this team here, there's, I don't know, roughly about 50 other people that we have in our silo that are dedicated directly for case supporting in different facets. So whether the topics being specifically around Hadoop infrastructure, HPC, being anything from networking, secure works, next generation firewalls, anything along that line. So pretty broad spectrum to cover, and a lot of unique individuals that specialize on those topics directly. To start off with, how we look at pretty much everything from a Dell standpoint has always been a core commitment to us to stay open, flexible, and reliable solutions that allow us to remove any of the complexity and provide a great deal of choice. So we never try to really silo or shoehorn anything in. We have a lot of stuff that is specifically built. We have a lot of stuff that is industry driven and unique to Dell. But we also then at the same time realize not one size fits everyone. With that being said, we look from a collaborative standpoint and flexibility and simplifying solutions. As we move forward with stuff, everybody's kind of started to play into different spaces, whether it be software defined, whether it be HPC. Worlds are merging and blending, and with that happens, you get a lot of this overlay. So you get overlays from servers, which form factor, which type, which CPUs, storage, iSCSI, next generation, software defined. Do we do JBOD? Dell has solutions for us. Network fabrics. 10 gig, 25 gig, 50, 100. Do we still look at data center bridging? What are the next technologies? What is open software, or what is software defined networking? Where does that fit into place? And of course, all the software. And whether it be the operating system, the hypervisor, application specific workload, or just data analytics beyond that as well. So from a Dell standpoint, we like to be able to bring a complete end-to-end solution, wrapping this all together around a clustered environment. So when you come to us and actually look to say, how do I do this, or what's the best solution? We actually have a great depth in each one of these fields to actually be able to pull forward to make sure we're appropriately sizing for the specific workload that you're looking to accomplish. Some examples, we have a lot of them. I figured it's late in the day. No one wants to see 700 case studies. We have them though, we really do. So some of the things, actually there's three. There's another one up here I do not have yet, but we'll get to it. Just to highlight some things I thought were a little bit more prominent and relevant to this situation was Stampede. So we'll talk about Stampede and Comet. Did anyone hear about Comet yet? Okay, a few folks, great. So Stampede is at the Texas Advanced Center for Computing Center. This is what Stampede looks like. It's a little over 10 petaflops of performance in the initial system. They accomplish this by using 6,400 Poweredge nodes to go ahead and get the initial 2.2. The additional 7.3 that kind of offset a little over 10, but then it kind of gets round down a little bit when you look at theoretical throughputs. And that's with 880 Dell Xeon Dell and Intel 5 Pro co-processors. So this is actually one of our blades. And you can see how so we're getting a great deal of density even with those high-end processors to go ahead and improve data center utilization. Comet, this is a project that's currently working on. When Comet is rolled out, it'll be a total peak of around a little over 2 petaflops, 1,944 compute nodes. They're going to be Dell dual Intel CPUs. Each one will have 128 gigs of memory and 320 gigs combined SSD in them. The performance storage is going to be a little over 7.5 petabytes of a Lustre file system that will be used for persistent and scratch data. All connectivity to this external out of the Comet infrastructure itself will also be provided by 100 gig external networking from Dell. We'll also have a mix of nodes that are also heavy GPU nodes. Each one of those nodes will consist of 2 of the NVIDIA K80 cards and large memory nodes. which are actually a 4U 4-way box from Dell with 60 computational cores and a little over 1.5 terabytes of memory for those memory nodes. Another case study that's becoming more and more prevalent and talking to a whole lot of my healthcare customers with is Tjen. So Tjen is genomics researching and sequencing. I think a lot of folks in this room, or at least in this building, probably aware of that. One of the big milestones here was really, it was taking them over 7 days to go ahead and run sequences of the genome to look at specific cancer treatments. So when they were looking at neuroblastoma in children, one of the things they were trying to do is come up with individual genome-specific treatments. And to do that, they would take over 7 days to run the sequencing against that, the next generation sequencing, to see where it came up, apply a case study to that, interpret which medicine needed to be used, apply that, and then wait a day or so to see how the outcome came. At that point, if they weren't receiving the right kind of outcome or the right kind of results, they would rerun it. Again, it took us 7 more days to run this. By looking to an HPC solution with Dell, they're able to reduce that 7 days to 4 hours. So much more faster. This is being recorded, thanks. Much faster results to go ahead and finding the right treatment for the right patient on an individualized basis. They're running a little over 1 million CPU hours per month, and they are projecting and currently still supporting 100% data growth year over year with this. And really the big thing is really improving patient outcome. From an HPC standpoint, where does Dell fit in? I mentioned before, there's a lot of moving parts in HPC. Sometimes people are experts in one area but not the other, so we cover everything. We are an end-to-end solution for this environment, whether it's a GPU or CPU compute nodes, where it's specific type of storage, networking, whether it's 10, 40, or 100 gig, or open networking platforms or software-defined networking, workstation class for visualization and bringing it down to the desktop standpoint. We also focus on the entire data center as well for HPC, including the power and cooling aspects, how those are managed and regulated, cluster management, deployment, updating, the DevOps approach to constantly doing rolling updates throughout the environment, predictive analytics software that's already acquired by Dell, so it's a Dell IP, and then we're able to leverage that as an overall part of the hybrid cloud integration and also cluster management. And with hybrid cloud integration, one of the things it's able to do is not only be able to provide resources as a cloud-like infrastructure from an orchestration standpoint to your users, but also being able to actually tie into resources outbound to leverage those HPC or cloud-based services as well. Now, if we look at a standpoint of, no clock. We look at a standpoint of where we fall into some of the workload. Most of the mainstream workload, when you think of HPC, seems to focus around CPU, GPU standpoints. So from this, we have a kind of a very large mix. And like I said before, we don't try to shoehorn everything. Everything has the right fit in our right location, whether it be very heavy Hadoop type of box or architecture or something built for software-defined X in the environment, large memory nodes, heavy 1U GPU loads, dense compute, or even from a standpoint of what kind of flexibility do I have in a 2U form factor. One of the products we have that's actually leading the way, specifically designed for HPC and cluster environments, is a Poweredge FX2. Poweredge FX2 is a 2U chassis with 4 optional bays that can be mixed and matched for whatever specific workload needs to be accomplished. In the back end of it here, you'll see it has shared PCI buses, shared power and cooling, and shared out-of-band management, and also shared integrated networking options. So from this standpoint, we can mix 2U, a standard 2U 2-socket server into a blade architecture, which will occupy 1 slot. A blade architecture with a little less memory. This would be more of a 2-socket high memory, 2-socket low memory. Able to do this also with Atom processors for some environments that may just need a lot of small cores to run little processes, so we can get very dense with this. And then of course, density and storage sleds. This is all in 2U, could be shared throughout the infrastructure within that, and then scales laterally as we would go ahead, or linearly as we go ahead and grow out the environment. The 730XD, this is a platform specifically designed and in reference architecture around Hadoop and big data and software defined. Reason being is that as the processors become more and more powerful, the latency has kind of been always the disk. So we're trying to get more and more disk options closer to the processors. In this environment here, this works out very well for Hadoop and software defined, whatever it may be. For a simple fact, we're able to leverage 18, those little drives at the top are actually 18 1.8-inch SSD drives and 8 3.5-inch big drives. So you're able to go ahead and decide exactly where metadata needs to resort, what has name node, what has high computational database access, what is basically output later than reference and recalculated again on this cheap and deep storage on the bottom. And this will hold 24 drives in a 2U, 2-socket platform. New product recently announced has also been the Poweredge See 4130. This is specifically focused around HPC workloads and increasing the number of GPUs being able to fit into a 1U height. So in this example, we're able to fit up to 4 300-watt PCI accelerator cards, whether it be NVIDIA or Intel Phi cards, in a 1U form factor. It also comes with additional 16 gigs of memory to be able to go ahead and accelerate that. You can do a little mix with small boot drives, but really is a GPU workload machine, able to be scaled in your environment. So example before when I mentioned we had the heavy compute nodes, large memory compute nodes and GPU nodes. These are actually specifically designed just for GPU workloads. Storage, another very important part, to cluster environments. From an HPC standpoint, this is something specifically built by Dell. We have several products that are extremely dense. This is this is the densest storage platform we have. So this is 720 terabytes in a 4U chassis. It also includes 2 Dell servers incorporated into this 4U as well. Those are, that's a big typo, that's a Xeon E5, not Xeon E percentage processors. So Xeon E5 processors in that as well, and 93.5-inch drives. The drives are also all hot swappable and can be performed in JBOT mode for most of your software defined or big analytic platforms. Also has additional dual 40 gig Ethernet out of the back end. When you look at it from a standpoint, it has kind of pretty significant power supplies to power 90 SATA drives, but from the standpoint of how dense can I get in the footprint of my data center and get more computational power, more storage power, it fits out very well. A big part is as we move forward with this is it's great to have nodes, it's great to have storage, but they all have to communicate with each other. So networking is absolutely essential to this. Dell has a strong networking product, the Dell networking stack. We have a variety of solutions that go from 1U all the way up to 3U, a variety of ports mix and match between 10 gig, 40 gig, and 100 gig. One of the more important things I think we've been really doing and been first on board with for a while is the incorporation of the open networking standards and looking at software-defined networking, whether it be Big Switch, Cumulus, Internet 2, also a major contributor to the 25 gig and 50 gig consortium on that standpoint. So is there a bridge between 40 gig and 100 gig? We have any additional questions or want to go into more depth, you can always ask Ian. We'll gladly go ahead and talk for several hours on Dell networking and the strategies around that and next generation products as well. Some people need to build HPCs. Some people want to build HPCs. So people who want to build them, we have everything in the stack. Like I said before, we have everything to go ahead and piecemeal this out, build it all together. For people who just need them and want to get on with their research and don't want to be bothered with it, we have prepackaged, for lack of a better term, appliance. It's a 42U appliance. It's a pallet delivered appliance, and it is a complete rack. But we've already worked with the top providers in the area around this for genomics. We also have one for big data analytics, where if you needed a Duke environment, you could kind of look at our sizing guides that we have, figure out where you kind of fit into a small, medium, or large infrastructure in those. And this rack is shipped. It is fully cabled, compliant, OS deployed, analytics deployed, management deployed, labeled, rack stacked, everything. You're basically, from a standpoint, if you just need rapid return on how long does it take me to get this into place before my researchers or my team can start using it. Provide power, provide 8 networking connections, and I think that's it. Oh, cooling. Cooling would help, but other than that, it's basically a genomics appliance that we could drop off in your environment. So very quickly to get out. It is a 32 node cluster. It does have NAS input. All the details in the box. It's we could go through that. It's really long, and I don't know if anyone's really that excited about all the bits and bytes, but everything's fully validated. You could pick a couple different platforms for the deployment. Red Hat, Enterprise Linux being the most common one on top of it, and then lay down your applications. If you don't need a 42U rack to go ahead and to get some information, or you have that already in a standard the campus clustered environment or another resource, but need a little additional computational resource underneath your desk or in some other environment, this is a Dell Vertex. And what this actually is this is 4 2-socket E5 servers and 25 hard drives with 8 PCI slots and integrated networking in a 5U chassis that could be on a tower, rack, or there's actually little kickstands here that could actually be bolted to the floor. It does function at sub 25 decibels, so it is a quiet office space noise, so you can have it, and does not require any additional cooling or specialized power. It'll plug into your standard wall outlet. It is hot, it is highly available, so you need 4 plugs, but you don't need any kind of special power to it. So great environment if you need to do some additional rendering of core data. HPC's crunching it out there, that's what you're using it for. You just need a little more horsepower than a standard workstation under your desk. This is a great fit. Some additional resources we have available. I just want to throw this out. We have a standard landing page, so Dell HPC Solutions.com. This will take you through a whole bunch of stuff we have. This is where most of our white papers and case studies are. So if you wanted to see what other universities are doing, what NSF is doing, what next-gen sequencing is looking like, where else we're playing in that environment, a whole bunch of stuff on there. You can also go to dell.com/HPC. That'll take you to a little bit more of the hardware-specific stuff. I like the landing page of HPC Solutions because that kind of covers the workloads more and then takes you down a little bit farther. We also have an HPC Advisor tool. It's a very good tool. It's an excellent starting point. It is not, this is what it said I need, how do I order it? So it's a great reference. It gets you like at least the right set of mind of where you would need to be, what it's going to look like, what capabilities you're going to have, and does some of the common questions. And of course, that's where we come in as a resource staff to go ahead and work with you and make sure everything's sized exactly right for the solution. Went through that a little fast, but I know, like I said, getting a little late in the day. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the opportunity and here. And if there's any additional questions or anything, I'll be right back here till the end. Feel free to stop by. And we're down a case at least once a week. So see us, stop us if you have any questions. Thank you very much.